Hi all, it's me Nikita again. And just for you who have recently started viewing my channel, I am a band 6 physiotherapist working in the NHS in London, UK. Now in today's video, we are going to fill out the application form for the HCPC that international applicants need. But just a quick reminder for those of you who have not watched my previous video, it would be really great for you to have some advice and some guidance that the HCPC themselves gives international applicants. And I have done this by reviewing this document right here. Now you would find the link for this video either on the top in the end section of this page, or you would definitely find the link down in the description box below. So please check it out. But for today, moving ahead, let's open the application form for international applicants. So as you can see, this is the application form. Now there are two ways to fill this form. You either take a printout of this HCPC form by obviously going into the printout option and getting a printout for yourself, and then fill the form in black ink, so by using a black pen. But the second way is to fill this form and to edit it while it's on your computer, which is what I am going to do today, and then take a printout and post it off along with your course information form and your other documents. So moving ahead, considering that you have not previously applied for the HCPC, you will take no. Now, based on your profession, you would need to select the most closest profession in this list. So for me, it is a physiotherapist, which is what I'm selecting. So moving ahead, section 1 is the section related to your personal details. Now this is quite straightforward, and I do not think that you need any assistance over here. But what I would want to emphasize on is this bit, the national insurance number. Now, if you are a resident in UK or if you've arrived in UK, you would have this unique number that's associated only with you, known as the national insurance number. And if you have it, please fill it up in the boxes over here. But if you are not present in UK and you do not have a national insurance number, do not stress. You can just leave this space blank and move on ahead. Now, the next section over here is asking you to provide your address. And what I would like to draw your attention to is current address. So while I was filling my HCPC form, I was actually back home in India. And so the current address for me would have been India, which is what I am going to fill over here at the moment. So I'm not going to fill all of it, but I'm just going to put India so that you know what I mean. So you need to fill your street name, your city, the zip code, the telephone numbers, and your email ID. But what is important right now is if you are living in the UK or if you are living in any other country, please give the address of the place where you are currently at. So for me, it was in India because I filled the HCPC form while I was back home. But for some students who are in UK, you need to give the address of your UK residency at the moment. So moving ahead, for your email address, please give an email address that you use frequently or that you check frequently. And this is because the HCPC will always contact you via email. They will not give you a telephone call. So always use an email ID that you review very closely, just so that you do not miss important updates regarding scrutiny fee or any application queries from the HCPC. Now, as you can see, this is a section over here that's again blank. And this is a section that will usually be filled by the HCPC themselves. So do not worry about this section. You do not need to fill it by yourself. Now, section 2 is about qualification. So for me personally, I have studied my bachelor's in physiotherapy, and I had done it from Father Mullah Medical College. So again, you would want to write your bachelor's, sorry. So the qualification start day would be the first day of your course, which would be for me somewhere in the month of September in 2013. And the date of qualification was awarded would be the last day of your internship. So for me, it would be the last day of my internship, which was somewhere in August 2018. Now, the next question is, have you provided the course information form? your application cannot be processed if you've not added the course information form. And there will be a video following this regarding the course information form. So if you have any questions, just jump onto that video. But for the sake of argument, and obviously to submit our application form, we need to click yes. Now name the institution over here and obviously provide the address for your educational institution. You also need to provide the name and the job title of your course administrator. So for me, suppose this person is Julie, who was obviously my course administrator. And they have also asked you for an email ID. So always ensure that you give an organizational or an institutional email ID. This is because HCPC does not accept personal email IDs. And I am going to repeat that again. Yes, you heard it right. HCPC does not accept personal email IDs. So ensure that you always give a professional or a institutional email ID. So that would be the, fathermuller.com. The next thing is it's asking you if you have any additional formal qualifications. Now, this is a space that is reserved for any qualification such as your postgraduate diploma, postgraduate certification, any master's or PhD level qualifications that you hold. And all of that data needs to be written down right in these sections here. So now you would ask me, oh, Nikita, but what if I have maybe say a day course in, or, a couple of days course in kinesiology or kinesiotaping or manual mobilization, dry needling, cupping, what do I do then? And I would say, I'm sorry, you cannot include that information over here because all of that information says short courses and day courses, which HCPC has clearly said not to include. So this section is only filled with postgraduate certification, diplomas, or any information related to your master's and PhD. So since I did not have anything at that time, I'm moving ahead. So section 3 is about your professional experience. So while I was in India and while I was submitting my HCPC application, I was actually working for an NGO called Ummeed. And you obviously need to provide the employer's address, their telephone number. Try to provide the email ID for your employer. So for me, for example, my supervisor's contact name was Preeti. And I obviously provided the HCPC application form with her email ID. So that would have been, say, ummeed.com. Again, provide the institutional or the organizational email ID because they will not accept an email ID which is personal, such as gmail.com. Try to include your start date. And because I was still working in Ummeed while I left, I had ticked present day. But if you have quit your workplace, include the end date as well. So I worked for about 40 hours a week, and the position I held was, So the position I held was pediatric physiotherapist. It will be the same thing down here. And if you are a part of any professional body such as the Indian Association of Physiotherapy, or in Maharashtra, we had the Maharashtra OTPP Council, you would tick yes. You would write the name of the organization, that is the Indian Association of Physiotherapy or the Maharashtra OTPP Council, and you would provide their contact email or website details over here. But since I was not a part of any professional body, I'm just going to tick no. Now, what they ask you to do here is provide some explanation or provide some description of your work. So what I would suggest is obviously stating where you worked, and maybe you need to say for how long and the number of hours that you worked there. So it could be, for me, 40 hours per week. I then would like you all to describe more about the patient population that you would have seen. So for example, I saw a lot of cases related to CP, Down syndrome, global developmental delays, and so on and so forth. So mention all of the conditions that you've worked with. Mention what were your assessment strategies or what was your framework for assessments. So for example, we did assessments based on video observations, gait analysis. We used the ICF structure to frame the child's condition and prognosis. Any assessments that you would have used. Also try and remember if you've used any particular outcomes or outcome measures to objectively measure, or assess the child or the patient, for example. So for me, it could have been the GMFM 66 or 88. It could be PDMS, it could be Ielts, and any particular tool that you have used or any outcome measure that you would have used, please try to mention it right here. The next thing you would want to write is what were the outcomes for these patients. So were they seen for block therapy, where you would have seen them for 6 weeks or 10 weeks and then discharged them, or would they have been discharged? Would they have been referred further on for maybe, say, a developmental pediatrician assessment, an orthopedic assessment or something? Whatever it may be, just mention whatever the outcomes for these children. You might also want to mention some information regarding how you documented your intervention with children. So for example, we would write assessment reports, we would write goals in the discussion following individual plans for them. So individualized goal plans for the children. We would also maybe write any sort of report or referral forms for onward referral. You might also want to mention in the start if you've received any consent from the patient. So we, for example, did both written and verbal consent. But if you remember that you have taken consent, this could again be an important section for you to write about. So these are some of the brief sections that you would write about to describe your clinical competencies. But other than this, if you've done any trainings or you've led your trainings, you would want to mention this, and any groups that you ran for. So for in my case, it was for parents and children. But if you have run any groups for your patient populations, you would want to mention that experience over here as well. So moving right on, the next thing is it asks us to tell us more about your professional experience, including internships. So here I'm actually going to mention about my internship, which was 6 months long. And so I was again in my college to do this, so Father Muller Medical College. Write the address, the telephone number. Again here, write the name of the supervisor and provide the institutional email ID for your supervisor, the start date, the end date, the number of hours per day. So I nearly worked 6 days a week. So that was 48 hours because it was 8 hours per day. So the position held was obviously intern. Again, if you are registered with any professional body, mention that information here. If not, just click on no. So coming right on to your professional experience as an intern. What would be important over here to mention is you were in maybe say 6 months of internship, which was on a rotational basis. So maybe you could say you were in the orthopedic department in the start. So in the orthopedic rotation, you were in an inpatient setting and in an outpatient setting. So again, here, what I would like you all to mention is how did you all receive consent, whether it was verbal or written, what were your patient populations. So it could have been either, for me, it was total hip replacement, total knee replacement, ACL reconstruction surgeries, It could have been fractures of any of sorts, so tibial fracture, femoral fracture, fracture of the long bones of the arm, any sort of fracture, any other condition that you can think of in an inpatient setting, you might want to mention it here. So then coming into what were your assessment. So you would have obviously taken a subjective history regarding the method of injury, the pain levels and things like that. How were they transported? What was the intervention that was done till now? Was there any surgery done? Was there conservative management? All of those things. You then need to mention objective assessment. So any assessment for pain, any swelling assessment that you would have done, any range of motion assessment, both active and passive, any muscle strength, joint movement. All of these you would want to mention in this section right here. What were the interventions that you used? So it could be anything. It could be from strengthening exercises, mobilization, guarded weight bearing following a fracture, maybe general range of movement exercises, maybe stretching. So all of your intervention you would want to mention here. Similarly, try to do something similar for the outpatient department. So I'm just going to copy all of this information down here. So obviously your patient populations would be much different. These would be people with cervical or neck pain, back pain, maybe frozen shoulder, sciatica, or any other condition that you can basically think of. It might be helpful to just write it down here. So golfer and tennis elbow. Again, you need to mention subjective examination, objective examination, and the interventions that you use. So obviously you may not use guarded weight bearing in this situation. Another key thing that you would want to mention actually is any sort of outcome measures. You would say, oh, Nikita, but I did not use any outcome measures. And I would say that is untrue. You definitely use an outcome measure. For example, we use the NPRS, which is the numerical pain rating scale, or the VAS, or you would have actually used a goniometer to measure range of movement. And even that is actually an outcome measure. So try and always write about the outcome measures that you have used with your patients. Oh, I'm so sorry. Range of joint movement. So I'm just going to copy this outcome measure bit over here. So now my next posting was supposed to say cardiorespiratory. And I would like you to follow the same findings over here. So you would again want to mention your patient population, which could be again medicine and surgery. So in medicine, So in medicine, it could be either asthma, COPD, whatever it is. And you could also have surgery cases of maybe say CABG, abdominal surgery, so on and so forth. What were the assessments that you used? What was your outcome measure? So your outcome measure could anyways be any fatigue scales or anything else that you could think of that you have previously used. And what were the interventions? So it might be worth mentioning your breathing exercises, the PEPs that you used, any kind of PDPV, all of that you need to mention in this region. Then you can obviously mention the pediatric rotation. Try to populate it in a similar way. Your community posting. So again, try to mention all of these crucial details for each of these relevant sections. Yeah. And once you've done that, it then comes to the section of professional registration and membership. So for example, I wasn't a part of any professional organization and I did not have the membership, so I just left it blank. But if you are a part of the Indian Association of Physiotherapists or the part of Maharashtra OTPT Council or any other professional organization, you can fill this section up with the name, your registration number, the date of registration, the email ID for the organization, their website, and their telephone details. And you can fill up to 4 of them. So it doesn't have to be only one, it can be up to 4. And then it comes with the section of your English language proficiency. So obviously, because we have not studied in English and English is not the first language in India, I had to tick no. I actually had given my IELTS, so that was what I'm going to go with right now. And as you know, we need to have an overall score of 7 with no section less than 6.5. So for the sake of a form, I'm just going to give myself 7 in every section. And once we've completed this is a very important section known as payment of scrutiny fee. And like I said before, HCPC always contacts you via email. So always give an email ID that you know you are going to check at least once in a day so that you do not miss out any updates or information from the HCPC. So that was all for today. It was really fun just going along the whole HCPC form with you guys. And if you have any questions regarding any of the sections above or would like more clarity about any of it, please, please, please just reach out to me. Drop your questions in the comments below and I promise I will get back to you all. And in the next video, actually, we will be discussing more about this section right here. But also I will be displaying my course information form just so that you'll have an idea about how you are supposed to fill the course information form or how your institution is supposed to fill it. So if that is of any interest to you, do not forget to come back to my channel and watch it the next time. But thank you so much for watching today, and I hope this was some really useful content for y'all guys. Take care, you all. Bye bye.